It is believed that most animals on our planet have a better vision and sense of smell than we do, or that they can pick up on things that the average person can't. There are many stories about pets warning their owners of an impending danger, foreseeing natural disasters or illness, and although we speak different languages, there seems to be an invisible connection between people and animals. It's true, when people get in trouble, animals are often the first ones to come to their aid. I grew up as an only child. After undergoing numerous surgeries and chemotherapy, the doctors told my mother that she shouldn't have any more kids because the fight against sarcoma made a serious impact on her health. So my parents directed all their love and attention to me. Thus, I always felt that I had to meet their hopes. I studied well at school, learned to play the piano, and went to rhythmic gymnastics classes. Mom and Dad were always proud of me, and it made me very happy. Until I came of age, our family lived in the heart of a big city. But when the time came for me to go to college, my parents decided to fulfill their lifelong dream and move to the countryside for the clean air and the quiet. So my parents settled in a cozy house near the forest, about an hour and a half from the city, and I could always visit them on weekends and enjoy the beauty of the untouched nature. But I think it was our pet Simba who appreciated the move most of all. Our fat ginger cat always had a wild streak, and he clearly felt trapped in our small apartment. Therefore, Simba liked the countryside from the first minute. The cat walked importantly around the courtyard of our house, studying every corner of it, every blade of grass and flower, and after that he basked for hours in the gentle sun, purring loudly with pleasure. And sometimes, in order to entertain himself, he ambushed small birds, but he always let them go. I have to admit that I was having a hard time getting used to the student life. I spent my days buried in books, and whenever I had free time, I did gymnastics. There was no time left for new friends or clubs, but for some reason, I didn't really want to participate in any of that. I was there to study, and that was exactly what I did. The only joyful moments for me were my trips home, where I managed to reboot and relax in the company of my family. Summer came, and having successfully passed all the exams, I could go home with a clear conscience. The bus ride seemed to fly by in an instant, and as I was walking towards the house, my mom was already waiting for me outside with a smile on her face. "Hello, dear. We missed you so much," she said, giving me a long hug. "God, Laura, you've lost so much weight. Look, you're just skin and bones now. You've completely exhausted yourself with all your studies. Let's go inside. You need to take a rest. Dad went out fishing to get some fresh fish for dinner. I'll fry it as soon as he gets back. And I also baked your favorite cake." Mom couldn't stop talking. "Hey, who's that visiting us? My baby girl is here," said the father, opening the door and coming in with a whole bucket of fish. Simba was walking beside him, as well as a gray fluffy puppy. "Hi, Daddy. I'm so glad to see you." I threw myself on my father's neck. "Hey, Simba, you've grown so big. I see you've got a new friend. This dog is really cute." "Yes, well, this poor little fellow came by on his own. But that's not a dog. Actually, that's our real wolf cub," Dad answered. Our Simba started spending a lot of time in the forest. He'd leave in the morning and only return when it got dark. One day, we saw him running home with a tiny puppy in his teeth. We didn't know where his mother was or what happened to her, but we couldn't just leave the pup out to die, so we decided to take care of him. At first, I had a bottle to feed him, but now that he has grown a bit, he eats on his own. Of course, I was a little shocked, because I had never seen a live predator before, but the gray pup behaved so friendly that it was difficult to see him as a wild animal. My vacation in the country was going really well. I helped my mom in the garden. I went biking and fishing with my dad. I also played with Simba and the wolf cub. And in the evening, the entire family gathered outside to have dinner. We talked and laughed a lot. The little pup grew attached to Simba and refused to leave the cat's side. They ate together and slept together, curled up in a single ball, pressed against each other. I never thought that our cat could be so caring and gentle. By the end of the summer, the wolf cub had grown quite a bit. His milk teeth got replaced by sharp fangs, and he was already the size of a small dog. He often glanced towards the forest, but was loyal to the house in which he grew up. and he was inseparable with Simba. They always fooled around with each other and went hunting for birds together. It was time for me to go back to school. Sure, it was hard to say goodbye to my parents and my favorite animal gang. I said goodbye with a promise to come back as soon as I could and left for the city. And thus, I was back to my student life. Lectures, exams, classes, and so on and so forth. Whenever I felt sad, I thought of the great time I had at home and looked at the picture I took there. However, there were some big changes in my personal life. I met a guy, and I fell in love. William was very kind and courteous, and he also loved animals. We were good together and always found something to talk about. When we started dating, I really wanted to introduce him to my parents, and William also dreamed of seeing my house and my family because I talked so much about them, about the village and my four-legged friends. Thanksgiving was approaching. I thought that I couldn't find a better opportunity to invite William over to my parents' house. I wanted to surprise my parents, so I didn't call ahead. We bought bus tickets, a whole bag of treats, and waited for the trip. But unfortunately, things didn't go according to plan. William came down with a sore throat the day before the holiday. High fever and chills had him stuck in bed. But he insisted that I go alone because he realized how long I'd been waiting to see my family. It was sad to get on the bus alone, but what could I do? I just hoped that it would work out better next time. Having gone most of the way, the driver warned the passengers that there was some problem with the bus, and when the village was just 1 mile away, and I was the only passenger left, the bus finally broke down by the edge of the forest. So I had to walk down the highway to get to the path that led to my family home. I was familiar with the area, so I wasn't worried, and I didn't want to bother my father. It's okay, I'll just take a little walk, I thought. But I changed my mind soon, when suddenly, I heard car brakes screeching behind my back. Deafening music was playing in the car, and two impudent men, clearly under the influence, pulled their heads out of the window. My heart skipped a beat because I realized that I was all alone in the middle of the road with strangers who began to rudely insist that I get in their car. I started running as fast as I could, deep into the forest. I knew the path, but the men were catching up with me. When I could almost see my house, one of the men managed to grab me and throw me to the ground. He covered my mouth with his hand. In my mind, I was already saying goodbye to my life because there was no way to call for help, and there was no point in fighting. A fragile woman against two strong men. This struggle definitely wasn't going to end well for me. But then, suddenly, a loud, terrified scream filled the forest. It was the second man yelling as the sharp fangs of a young wolf bit into his leg. The other man quickly let me go, and he rushed to get away, but he tripped and fell to the ground. At that moment, Simba attacked him, thrusting his claws deep into the man's back, breaking his skin to the point of bleeding. My faithful friends arrived just in time. I don't even want to think what would have happened if they didn't. Having barely escaped from the teeth of my saviors, the two men fled with screams of pain, while I headed home together with my tailed gang. I don't even know how they got to the forest or how they knew that I needed help. Apparently, they felt something was wrong and came out to meet me. I didn't tell my parents about what happened in the forest because I didn't want them to worry. But upon arrival in the city, I told William everything because I didn't want those men to walk free and threaten other women. I memorized the license plate of their car and gave a statement to the police. It turned out that I wasn't the first one to accuse these men of an attack, so they soon would face trial. William couldn't forgive himself for letting me go home on my own and not being there to protect me. But most of all, he wanted to see my tailed saviors and bring them some tasty treats as a sign of gratitude, and he soon did. William and I managed to get out to the country for the winter holidays. I finally got to introduce my boyfriend to my parents. Mom and Dad really liked him, and so did my four-legged gang. They accepted William as their own. We had a wonderful time. We went sledding, had barbecues, and warmed up with mulled wine. And finally, we took cute photos of our entire family near the Christmas tree.